This is Twit.
Now, you probably called into a help desk before, right? And you've talked to customer service. Now, your organization might even have a department for that, or maybe they even farm that part of the business out. Now, having worked in the CRM systems and services for many, many years, I can tell you that it definitely has had to evolve over the years to project that horizontal that they need to have when it comes to information gathering. Now, every organization would like to assume that their help desk employees are trustworthy, right? And in most cases, the staff likely is. No ill intentions there. However, there have been incidents in which rogue employee has used the organization's data for personal gain, as the case in Trend Micro breach we just heard about a few years ago. Now, given the amount of damage that the rogue support technician could have or conceivably cause, it makes sense to take steps to limit the potential harm here, right? One of the major cybersecurity initiatives over the past several years has been the move towards zero trust security. Now, limiting the help desk staff's exposure to highly sensitive information aligns perfectly with existing zero trust initiatives. Now, implementing such controls, however, can be a lot more challenging. After all, how can an organization realistically put limits on its support staff without affecting their ability to do their jobs, right? Well, there can be heavy attrition in the service industry, and making it harder for them to do their job can actually eventually impact the customers as well. Now, there are ways to snap or take a stepping stone approach here. A good first step in bringing zero trust to the help desk is to identify the situations that might actually put help desk employees in possession of sensitive or potentially damaging information. Now, once those situations have been identified, an organization can work to find alternate support methods that would make it harder for a rogue help desk user or employee to cause harm. Now, many organizations have implemented self-service password reset capabilities using tools like SecOps, USET, Reset, or something similar. And this is often done primarily at as a cost-cutting measure. Now, a 2020 study by Gartner estimates that password tickets consume 31% to 40% of help desk's time, which can actually add up, right? However, a self-service password reset mechanism can also help to improve the security because it greatly reduces the number of password reset requests that a help desk request an employee actually receives. And that means that the requests that do make through the help desk will likely receive a greater scrutiny than the ones that don't. Now, the help desk has been a long favorite target for those wishing to use social engineering techniques as well, schemes for gaining access to the organization's data. As such, most organizations have put policies in place that require help desk technicians to do something to validate a caller's identity before actually granting them things like password reset. Now, the authentication process is designed to protect the organization, can also put extremely sensitive information into the hands of rogue help desk technicians as well. What can help? Well, self-service portals can help as well. Hardening the password reset workflow can also help. Now, over the past several years, we know there's been an uptick in the number of state-driven cyber attacks from Russia. Now, part of it's because of the cyber criminal underground here. Now, they are also targeting these types of things. But I do want to bring my co-host back in here because the key here is, even if you're vigilant here and you're putting walls up and you're putting more policies in place, maybe even focusing on passwords like I just mentioned, can you really protect against bad actor in your help desk? What do you think, Curtis?
Well, help desks are interesting because, as the article noted, they have permissions to attack on a couple of different bases. One, they often either have or are able to have things like RDP sessions where they can log in. They have extraordinary administration passwords in many organizations so that they can, fulfill their legitimate job of helping users. In addition, they have the trust, the human trust. And here, let's be real careful. Trust is one of those words that is used in a bunch of different ways in security. Here we're talking about human-to-human trust. When you call the help desk, you tend to assume that they are going to try to help you. And in general, you're calling at a time when you are under stress. Relatively few of us say, hey, it's a slow Tuesday. I think I'll call up the nice folks on the help desk and just chat a while. You really want to get back operating. So with those two things going on, the level of access and privilege is extraordinarily high. And so I'm going to say there is probably no way to fully protect against a bad actor on the help desk compromising an individual endpoint. Now, what you can do is use principles like least privilege to make sure that if they compromise one machine, their ability to spread laterally and inflict damage across the entire organization is quite limited. Zero trust architecture is a piece of that, but it really goes far beyond that. You're getting into an area where the problem is vast, and so the potential solution set is also pretty darned involved.
What do you think, Cheebert? Is there any way? I know Curtis brought out some ideas on how we can do this, but some organizations, the entry point is to give their service agents the most information so that they can help their customers. So, is there really a way to right out the door protect against a rogue agent?
I think a lot of it depends on the back end technology. A lot of the very sophisticated single sign-on systems actually require that the password reset person executing the password reset actually has quite a few privileges. And so the concept of least amount of privilege or least privilege doesn't always work. And this is one of the things that I keep complaining about when I start playing the SSO game. Now, when you start getting into RDP help desk sessions and so forth, keep in mind, a lot of these are built upon, someone else's system. I happen to use the remote desktop option that goes through the SonicWall SSL VPN system, but there's a lot of them that are based on other pieces. And when you start having pieces outside the control of your organization, say a hosted help desk type of system, how much control do you have again? So I have a problem with that. Now, so things are changing. We want zero trust as much as possible, even in the help desk. I would love to see more checks and balances. Sadly, a lot of the organizations I've worked with in the past treat the help desk as the entry point into the corporate IT world. So you get people that are relatively low paid. Help desk a lot of times is considered the doldrums or corporate IT hell. And when you start treating your help desk that has a lot of the keys to the kingdom, where are the temptations? We might start having way too many temptations. It's again, we've got a person in a position of trust that's not paid very well typically, and typically also underappreciated within the organization. And so you start going, are we putting things in the correct priority? I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see more things change. There's a system that I worked with that happens to be the second largest convention center internet service provider in the United States. Because so much was being put onto the password to the routers in the convention centers, we actually made it so that the passwords were single use. We actually used TACACS. And so we would have to call back to our central office and they'd issue a one-time password so that we could get in, make the changes, and then it would actually disable the password out from under the text at the location. So that if they had to they get dropped or something, they have to log in again. It's a lot of really interesting solutions. And I don't think there's a good answer quite yet. I think it's going to be one of those enterprise IT segments that's going to be changing a lot. And I have a high hope for passwordless and go to physical dongles or biometrics or something like that. I'd like to see us get away from passwords, because that would, solve a lot of evils. I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but cross my fingers.
Right. Now, so one interesting angle here is there's recently a new executive order regarding cybersecurity, and obviously it's pushing organizations to rethink a lot about their data, a lot about how they're handling their code, their services, and how they're handling data. Now, Curtis, I want to throw this to you because obviously a lot of organizations are attempting to move to this zero trust model, and it lets them kind of segregate different systems and different micro segmentation, so they get data in different spots. How much of this is being driven by something like the executive order or GDPR, and will that maybe affect the services industry?
Well, I think we have to look at it in two different ways, because right now the executive order has not had cases brought, so no one's quite sure what penalties might go with it. GDPR is different. GDPR has been proven to have teeth. And so I think that right now, with those two, what we have to say is that GDPR is absolutely critical to the thinking of executives when they're thinking about especially the privacy and security of their customer and employee data. No question about that. Where it doesn't really have an impact is on company confidential data, things like trade secrets, and proprietary information, things like that. The executive order is, I would say, one of those things that is being used to encourage compliance with best practices. There are a lot of CIOs and CISOs who are using that to go to executive boards and say, look, we need to have the money to invest in this because we have the executive order. And this is especially true if it's a company that does any business at all with the federal government. Have we seen it have a huge material impact driving spending and behavior? I would say not yet. Give us a couple of months. Let us get into the next budget cycle, and we might well see more. I am also waiting to see whether the international scenario that's unfolding in Eastern Europe has an impact on how this executive order is used by private organizations and public organizations to fund their cybersecurity regimes. I suspect that we're going to start seeing a lot of money moving away from things that had been caused by and were concentrated on pandemic behavior towards those that are aimed at keeping data and information secure from international threat actors.